All right, so today I want to talk about how the HR profession is sometimes just like the medical profession and how sometimes it is so different. Okay, here's where it's the same. There are a lot of different specialties in the medical profession, but I don't even have most of them listed here, but I listed some of the more common ones, right? Oncology, cardiologist, GI doctor, OBGYN, endocrinologist. I'm not going to read all of them. But in any case, there are a lot of different specialties. Same thing in HR, right? There are a lot of specialties within the HR field. Now, where the two fields differ is if someone gets sick and they get cancer, they're going to go see an oncologist, right? If they get pregnant, they're going to go see an OBGYN. If they have mental illness, they're going to go see a psychiatrist. If they have dementia, they're going to go see a neurologist. And nobody's going to question that they need a specialist. The difference in HR is that everybody thinks HR is just HR, and sometimes everybody thinks that they can do HR. So it is a people business, but there are also disciplines and centers of excellence that are critical to competing for talent today. You know, you're going to have some of the what I call keep the lights on kind of work, the HR operations, making sure that people are getting paid, employee relations, making sure that your organization is not getting sued, labor relations. And then I think for a lot of organizations, that's sort of where it stops and where companies really stop growing and plateau out because they have not made the investments in human capital and the specialty areas that an organization needs in order to grow, whether it's really upgrading your talent acquisition function so that you're not always paying search firms so that you can attract a talent, go out and attract talent versus just seeing who applies to your jobs, right? Whether it's talent management so that your employees have a career path, so that your employees understand what their next steps are. They're rewarded correctly based on their job titles, whether it's learning and development so that they know they're set up for success and that they can grow, leadership development so that you have leaders who are compelling to work for, succession planning so that the true sort of risk of losing key executives or mission critical roles never craters your business. Performance management so that employees understand how they're doing and how they can reach the next step and how they can do better. Organizational design to align the talent pieces of the equation to business goals. Total rewards and understanding how you can pay people competitively, as well as create other benefits that attract and retain great employees. To diversity, equity, inclusion, and how to weave that into all of human capital, as well as having the HR tech and people analytics to make better decisions, to be able to help advise the organization to take the right steps, to get ahead of the trends and be able to see around corners, and to have a really strong HR business partner function that is the glue that guides the organization to whatever center of excellence is needed. So I would say that's the big difference, is that most executives don't understand the depth and the centers of excellence and specialty areas that are needed, but that big companies do understand and have all of these functions in place. And so the challenge is for mid-sized or scaling organizations that can't afford all these skill sets on their HR team is how do they compete, right? Most of the HR directors or generalists, maybe they came up through one of these specialty areas or two, but it would be rare that they have all of these areas. If they came from a big company, maybe they went through a rotation program, but they're still not going to have all of these areas as their expertise. And I know that these big companies are able to attract talent because they have depth in these areas, which are helping them with this huge competitive advantage over organizations that don't. Mind you, that's not every single large organization. Many large organization executives actually don't understand this investment needed to create a company that employees never want to leave. And if HR is constantly buried in tactical work and never has a budget to get out of that tactical treadmill, then it's really hard to find time to innovate and create a competitive advantage. And that's why I believe that HR functions still to this day have a reputation of being highly administrative. So how can we win? How can we compete if HR is always under-resourced and it's not well understood what all the specialty areas that are needed in order to compete? Well, I believe that you can leverage resources that are not always within your own organization. There's some ideas around perhaps providing mentors for your current HR leaders if they're not at that strategic HR level. And if they are, my guess is you're going to need to find resources to supplement them because they are at a point in their career where if they're willing to take on this kind of transformation, they know they need specialists to help get the job done, right? So, but if you have someone who's a high potential, someone who you want to groom and develop into that number one spot as your business grows, and believe me, if you don't, your business probably won't grow, but you can perhaps consider a CHRO board member, right? Have somebody who's on the board, advisory board, governance board, that your HR team can turn to for help and counsel. It will be the biggest value you get from a board member. There are HR peer groups. Of course, I'm biased on this top point because I run HR mastermind groups. You could leverage a fractional CHRO to provide guidance to your staff and team. Maybe there's a CHRO coach, somebody who's been a CHRO who can help coach and counsel your existing team. Second, make sure you start to track the real spend, what we call shadow spend, or what IT calls shadow spend, from the business units. You'll likely find that there's money being spent on training and development. There's money being spent on leadership development. There's dollars being spent on headhunters. And is that money being spent effectively and efficiently? Whereas if it's consolidated, could you pull those dollars together to basically create more holistic programs for your employees and make sure those dollars are spent more effectively? A third area would be to look at what are some of the tactical areas in HR that you could outsource. Of course, it's better to streamline processes, automate, get the systems in place, but it may take some time to get there and to design those more streamlined business processes. So perhaps in the interim, are there tactical elements that you could outsource to a firm and or independent contractors to give your team some relief so that they can truly provide business advice from a talent lens that helps grow the business? These are certainly not all the ideas for a CEO or business owner to leverage in order to grow their business, but certainly a few that you may want to consider. Now, if you're a CEO or a business owner, I would love to hear about your challenges and what are some of the things that you're hoping for. And if you're not comfortable commenting, feel free to ping me and we can perhaps set up some time to explore some of the human capital challenges that your organization is experiencing. I know a lot of CEOs are wanting to grow their business and finding it very challenging during these times. And regardless of the economy, they're still finding it hard to attract and retain talent. So feel free to ping me in a private message and we'll see if we can get some time on the calendar. Thanks.